Okay, like always, putting this out there with the hopes that other people find this useful and maybe help me out with it, augment it. This is a really cool bi-directional synchronization tool between Outline, which is a team-based wiki, kind of like Notion, and it uses Notion-like technology. A tool called Prose Mirror, which allows for collaborative editing, and it really helps your team stay in sync. It has notifications when people make page updates. But what it does is this tool allows all of that information to be converted into plain text Markdown files that are stored in your local file system. And that's great if you've become really used to using tools like Obsidian, which are just completely Markdown based and also have a great editing experience and are really fast and allow you to do all sorts of cool stuff. Or like the plethora of other Markdown editors out there. You choose your flavor, right? There's Typora, there are dozens, hundreds of different tools, and you could even, use VS Code or Cursor now to edit Markdown, and there are a lot of advantages to just using these tools too. So if you go to the README, this is tool agnostic. So it allows you to basically continue to share all of your information on Outline, but still be tool agnostic. Use the tools that you want on your local environment, and then synchronize all those changes back into Outline so your team has the latest knowledge it needs. So this tool also allows you to do offline mode, which means that, if you're going on a flight or you're not going to be able to access the remote server, just synchronize everything to your local environment, make your changes. You can check them into GitHub so you know what you change. And then once you have an internet connection, you can commit everything back so that your team has your updated research and knowledge. This also makes it really easy to do backups. You don't have to go into Outline and use their export feature. You could set this on a cron and do automated backups. You could synchronize it into versioning now that it's all connected to this API, so it's all programmable here. And local files are also great for using AI tools too. Like if you load it into some of these agent-based tools like Cursor now, you can use that to do grammatical updates or add more additional information or fact-checking, etc. Right, okay, so here's a demo of how it works. Just go to the repository URL and download it. Here it is on my desktop, and then I've dragged it into Cursor. You can use any editing program you want. You'll see an initialization folder that has two different config files. The first one is config.sample.ini. Just rename this to config.ini and put your actual details. This is the URL of your Outline install. If you use the cloud install, just use the cloud API endpoint and go to the admin, get your long token and type that puppy in. You'll see a sync settings, and this is pretty self-explanatory too. It's just the ID for the collection that you want to sync to a local path and then the local path. And that's made a lot easier when you actually just run the sync for the first time, because you just write PHP, drag in sync, boom, there we go. It shows you a nice little list of all of your collections and their ID, so you can just copy and paste that. Or you can just use AI to create a well-formatted list of these in the markup language and then the local path. So now that we're here, let's make sure that I've created this Acme Corp local folder, which will receive the files that are already in Outline, and then you'll see that I have an Acme Corp here with some basic stuff. Let's also just drag this into the workspace because it's fun to see it populate. So now we will run this by just clicking 1 because we want to sync Acme Corp to the local. And it runs through its process and gives you this really nice little output of what happened at each step. And now here we go. We have a Markdown replica of the database-based Outline. So now let's just run a test. We'll do 3 weeks because, we're in uncrunch time and we can't be taking all this vacation. So We made an edit, and we'll sync again just by the same process. Runs the process. And here we go. 3 weeks a year. Excellent. Now, what's cool is that, like I said, you could add your own front matter here, like new front matter, whatever it is, okay? And it just edits the body, so it will preserve all this extra front matter. If you're using Obsidian and you want to like have some, you could, basically add private messages to your front matter that won't be shared with your team or won't be synced with Outline. We can come back in here and we'll make another change. 2 weeks. 2 weeks a year. It's less exciting now, so fewer exclamation marks. And let's run it again. And there we go, it just finished running. And now it's 2 weeks here, and you can see that it did not write, even though this is not in Outline at all, it didn't mess it up. It parses this first, and then it just changes the body, which is really cool. It allows you to kind of have some separation between Outline and, or Obsidian, or a tool that you use where you might use front matter and your shared stuff. So good for using maybe some private notes, or maybe if you want to say like this needs work or whatever. But front matter is great, and you can use it with this system. The next trick is, let's say, I don't know, the big boss comes in and he only likes to edit in local. So we've done 2 synchronizations from remote to local, but now he's saying, I'm sorry guys, we really need to buckle down. 1 week a year, and come back in here, and we'll run this again. And sometimes with the local to remote, we have to, there we go. Oh, you know what? We have to actually close the file. That's what it is, to show that it has been saved and changed. And we'll run this again. There we go. And right. Okay, so we'll come back in vacation, and here we go. 1 week a year. So that's local to remote. Of course, we could change file names on the remote, and even file locations. And you can see immediately that was changed. We can do it the other way too. We can put help desk under engineering. And now we can see a new folder was created, and help desk is now under engineering. So, right, so that's how it works. Have some additional ideas for extending it. Currently, it's basically full sync. So it will first check the local changes and then the remote, and then it looks for conflicts between them. It's a little bit of a complicated process, but it is broken down into these really kind of neat little classes for each one, which makes it easier to debug. But I had thought about making it, breaking the process up a little bit so it's gives you the options about whether you want to do remote to local, local to remote, or attempt the full bidirectional sync at once. So there's an open question. The other really cool thing is basically most of the functionality could just be transferred to GitHub using the GitHub API, which can act like a file system too, and that might actually make it easier, because then that could work in the cloud, and then all you would need to do is push and pull from GitHub instead of ever running this script. So that's on the docket. Another thing I didn't write in here, but Notion, or there's like Craft. There are a bunch of other tools like this that are Notion-like. Some are open source, and I'm sure someone's attempted this for Notion already. I haven't dug too deep into it, but it could use kind of the same logic, and then you just swap in the different API endpoints, building one for Notion, much bigger audience than Outline. I'm sure that a lot of people would love that and think that that's useful. Just for cleaning up this basic structure, thought about putting everything just in the sync settings file. So there's only one config. So maybe I'll even do that. So if you see this and it's changed, then you know to just add your token into the markup language file. YAML. You need another markup language, whatever that stands for. That would be a little bit more streamlined. I guess this also uses PHP, and like not a lot of people maybe like using that or would prefer using Python or Go or maybe just TypeScript or something like that. But anyway, this is what I use a lot, and it normally works great for me. And it's so easy to run on like any device, because Macs just have, at least any Mac, because it has PHP pre-installed, like Python. So similarly, just so simple to run little API utilities like this. So okay, so that's outline sync to local, with more ideas for additional functionality. Thanks.